Welcome to my channel. My name is Andrea and today we're making 5 super easy, mainly Dollar Tree Halloween DIYs. This DIY is a spooky Halloween spiderweb wreath. I'm using a grapevine wreath from Dollar Tree and this navy blue yarn. I'm cutting strands of yarn long enough to stretch across the wreath and I'm weaving the ends through the wreath, then tying them in place. I cut 6 strands of yarn and I'm crisscrossing them so they all meet in the middle. Once all the strands are in place, I'm adding a dot of hot glue to hold all the yarn pieces together in the center. To make the rest of the spider wreath, I'm measuring out how much yarn I'll need by loosely wrapping it around, starting from the center and spiraling out. I tied the yarn around the center part, then I'm hot gluing this strand of yarn to each of the other yarn pieces, going around in a circle. I put a dot of hot glue on each piece of yarn, which is a little bit tedious, but it's necessary to keep the long piece of yarn in place as it goes around in a circle. I wrapped the yarn around in the circle twice, then I'm weaving it through the bottom of the wreath, cutting off the end, then gluing it to the back of the wreath. I'm making a little spider for my wreath, and for the body I'm using this small styrofoam ball that I'm painting black. I put the ball on the end of this wooden skewer, which makes it super easy to paint. And then I was also able to set up the skewer so that the ball could properly dry. For the legs, I'm using black pipe cleaners and cutting them into smaller pieces. You could glue these in place, but I'm just poking them into the styrofoam ball and bending them to make the 8 legs. Next, I'm making a little sign for the wreath using this craft stick. I'm cutting off the ends, then painting it black. Next, I want to make a decal for the little craft stick sign. So I'm going into Cricut Design Space and adding a rectangle the size of the craft stick. Now I'm adding text to say Happy Halloween, and I'm using the font Halloween Days, which I downloaded for free from dafont.com. Once I have the text size how I want it, I'm hiding the rectangle, then clicking on Make It. I'll be using a really cool holographic vinyl for this decal, so I'm changing the material to holographic vinyl. Tech Wrap was so kind to send me a bunch of different vinyls to try out, including this shiny red in the shade Begonia Rose. The Tech Wrap vinyls have this clear protective coating on them, so make sure to take that off. I'm placing it onto a green mat and using the brayer tool to stick it down. I'm cutting out the design with my Cricut Maker, but you could also use the Joy or Explore. Now I'm weeding it out and placing it onto the craft stick using my duck contact paper as transfer tape. I'm using this little scraper tool from Tech Wrap to adhere the vinyl to my sign, then I'm peeling off the transfer tape. I have these black vines from Michaels and I'm draping a few of them around the wreath. You could glue these, but I'm just poking them through the wreath and I found they stayed in place just fine. Now I'm hot gluing my little Halloween sign to the wreath, and I'm also going to hot glue my spider to the other side of the wreath. I'm just gluing the body to the wreath and then arranging the legs. DIY is a fun Halloween sign. I'm using this rectangular wood sign from Dollar Tree, and I'll be using the back side. I have this 2023 calendar from Dollar Tree, and I'm using the October page that says Boo Y'all with a bat on the bottom. I'm cutting the calendar page to fit the sign, then using craft glue to stick it on. I'm using this tech wrap vinyl in the shade Iris Purple, which is a really cool, deep, shiny purple. I want to cover the sides of the sign with this vinyl because I think it'll really add to it and bring it to life. I'm cutting the vinyl down to size with my paper cutter, then sticking it on to the sides of the sign. This totally takes a boring calendar page and jazzes it up. I have this little crow and I'm hot gluing it to the top of the sign to finish it off. This is a super easy DIY, but so cute. This DIY is a cute little Halloween pumpkin. This styrofoam pumpkin is from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to paint it white with this paint from Folk Art in the shade Titanium White. After a couple of coats, I'm going to let that dry, and now I'm painting the pumpkin stem with a mix of brown and white paint. Now I'm creating a quick little design for the pumpkin in Cricut Design Space. I measured the front of the pumpkin to figure out the size of the decal I need. Then I'm writing out the word Boo in the font Halloween Days. I'm changing the font to purple because that's the color vinyl I'll be using, and it's just a good reminder to myself when I go to cut it out. I'm using the tech wrap vinyl in the color Iris Purple, and I'm cutting it out with my Cricut. After it's all cut out, I'm weeding it out and using duck contact paper to stick it to my pumpkin. Since the pumpkin is rounded and bumpy, it is a little bit tricky to add vinyl to. So I thought it would be easier to cut out each letter and stick them on individually. When you're putting vinyl onto rounded surfaces, you can also cut slits into the contact paper or transfer tape to make it easier. I'm using this scraper tool to help adhere the vinyl to the pumpkin. Then I'm peeling off the transfer tape. This DIY is a spooky Halloween centerpiece. I have this styrofoam skull and these beautiful florals from Michaels. I'm trimming the stems down using wire cutters, then arranging them on top of the skull and poking them through the styrofoam. I love these colors so much. They're not traditional Halloween colors, but I think the cream and deep burgundy look so glam on top of the skull. It's a different and fun look. I'm using this silver charger as the base of the centerpiece. To decorate the base, I'm using this green moss and Spanish moss, both of which I got at the dollar store, and I'm arranging it on the plate. To give it more of a spooky Halloween look, I'm adding these black vines. To finish off the centerpiece, I'm adding these black crows and a flameless candle to the top of the skull. This DIY is a spooky Halloween box. I've used this box in previous DIYs, as you can tell, and this time I'm painting it black for Halloween. I painted all the sides and the inside. Now I'm going into Cricut Design Space and creating a rectangle that is the size of the front of my box. Then I'm adding text and writing out Spooky Season in the font Scary Halloween. I'm changing the font to green, then clicking on Make It. I'm using this fun green vinyl from Tech Wrap, which is a spooky, shiny green in the shade Lime Green. I cut out a piece of the vinyl and stuck it onto my green mat. Then I realized I forgot to take off the protective coating, which is on these Tech Wrap vinyls, so I peeled it off, then stuck it back on the mat. Then I'm cutting out the design with my Cricut. Now it's time to weed it out. How fun is this font? I think it's so perfect for Halloween. I'm using duck contact paper to transfer the design onto the box. This green vinyl looks so good against the black paint. I love this effect so much. Inside the box, I'm putting these little pumpkins, some of which I'm painting orange and some of which I'm painting white. Then I'm adding these black vines into the sections of the box and adding my little pumpkins on top. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below which of these DIYs was your favorite. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.